On the morning of November 27th, 1924, Thanksgiving Day, the Macy's department store held a parade from Harlem to their store in Manhattan's Herald Square. The parade included floats portraying fairy tale scenes like Little Red Riding Hood and the Old Woman Who Lived in a Shoe. It had clowns, riders on horseback, exotic animals from the local zoo, brass bands, and costume characters from popular comic strips like Mutt and Jeff, Crazy Cat, and Silk Hat Harry. And at the end of it all, Santa Claus in his sleigh. When the parade reached the store, Santa Claus got into a golden throne, blew his horn, and revealed Macy's Christmas display, titled The Fair Frolics of Wondertown. The parade was a success, and soon after became a yearly tradition, a way for Macy's to officially announce the Christmas season. Large helium balloons became a regular feature for the parade beginning in 1927, starting with animals and eventually giving way to popular characters like Felix the Cat, Mickey Mouse, and Superman. In 1932, the festivities were broadcast over radio, allowing the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade to enter homes all across America. National television broadcast began in 1948 in contract with NBC, and it's still going strong today, drawing in audiences of 44 million or more. At this point, 99 years later, the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade is an American tradition. Maybe I should have done this video next year, the 100th anniversary. Anyway, and as with all the best American traditions, it was born out of commercialism. It started as a giant commercial for the Macy's department store and has only added more and more commercials on top of it. Here are musical numbers from popular Broadway shows. Maybe you should come to New York City and see them. Here's a bunch of balloons shaped like characters from popular children's franchises, just in time to remind you what toys to buy this Christmas. Uh-oh, it's time for a commercial break. And since the parade is a huge commercial venture, only the biggest companies are able to advertise through it. To have a prominent spot in the parade today, a company pays between $190,000 to $280,000. And that's not counting the cost of actually constructing a float or a balloon, all the helium needed to fill the balloons, performers, and any celebrity involvements. Macy's doesn't pay for any of that stuff. Nickelodeon has been a regular feature of the Macy's Parade for decades now, but the first cable network for kids has fluctuated in success over the years. It took a while for the channel to become the biggest thing since sliced bread. So, just for fun, in the spirit of the holidays, let's map Nickelodeon's involvement in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and see how that reflected where the company was in any given year. Now, when do you think the first Nickelodeon appearance was? In the 90s when the channel was at its peak? After the success of Nicktoons? Maybe a little bit further back after the success of Double Dare? Well, I think you'll be shocked to find we're going back to 1981.
Here are such popular regulars as Ebenezer T. Squint, Luigi O'Brien, Jake and Aurelia, and at this moment they want to know they're friends together.
A feeling for friends is something that just grows and grows.
All of the good times we can bring. When you're with a friend, the time you spend just grows and grows.
Yes, only 2 years into Nickelodeon's run, and here we have the cast of Pinwheel singing a little song between Phyllis Diller playing a Cinderella and the Bullwinkle Balloon. Now, I don't think anybody would call 1981 a successful year for Nick. Deep in the Silver Ball era, Warner Amex was still running the channel as a loss leader for their cable packages, and You Can't Do That on Television wasn't set to premiere for another 37 days. So how did they pull this off? I imagine there were a couple of factors that netted Nickelodeon some discounts. First off, Pinwheel was shot in New York City, at Matrix Studios on 11th Avenue, which was only a half-hour's walk to the Macy's on Herald Square. They weren't shipping props and performers across the country. One article from the Richmond Time-Dispatch confirms that puppeteers Brad Williams and Jim Jenkins are the puppeteers here, along with a third unnamed performer. And these are almost certainly the shooting puppets used in Pinwheel. They're performing a song from the show. Nothing new had to be made. The carriage they're riding on is one of Macy's reoccurring assets. Known as the Circus Wagon, Macy's introduced it in 1961, and Disney had commissioned its use from 1969 to 1976. It wasn't the most flashy thing as the parade entered the 1980s, but it had some legacy, and it wasn't a bad fit for the wholesome Pinwheel characters. So Pinwheel probably got the cheapest deal you could possibly get with the Macy's parade. But even then, it wouldn't have been free. so Warner Amex must have seen some value in this. In that previously mentioned article, a Warner Amex representative pointed out that this was the first time that cable television characters were represented in the parade, which is true as far as I can tell, so bragging rights there, I guess. But I think what's more important was when the parade was airing. The Macy's Day Parade in 1981 was broadcast between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern Time. The pinwheel characters show up around 2 hours and 10 minutes into the broadcast, roughly 11:10 a.m., which means that when Pinwheel showed up in the parade, Pinwheel was also airing on Nickelodeon. Pinwheel didn't have merchandise, it didn't have toys that you could beg your parents to buy for you at Christmas. The only thing Pinwheel had to sell was itself. I think Warner Amex was hoping that kids would see these characters, find them appealing, realize that they could watch them right now if they had the right cable package, and switch to Nickelodeon before Santa Claus even showed up. I doubt it worked, because their appearance in the parade was pretty bad. For some reason, the carriage seems to move several yards past its mark, so the camera angles are all wrong. Nobody's looking at a camera. Somebody gets a handheld down below, but that cuts off Ebenezer T. Squint and Jake, and it's all over in less than a minute. Not a great first impression. Also, host Ed McMahon calls them Muppets.
It's sure to bring a delighted cry from children everywhere. It's the circus wagon, and aboard are a whole group of marvelous, bigger-than-life Muppets from the Pinwheel series.
Considering this is the last time Ed McMahon would host the parade broadcast, I like to imagine he was fired for that blunder. So Nickelodeon's first appearance in the Macy's parade was kind of a bust, but it was still a neat surprise that they even tried at all. Things would get a little better next year in 1982.
The circus wagon full of fun, and aboard for their second year in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade are the characters from the popular children's cable television service, Nickelodeon.
Now we have the Pinwheel characters joined by Christine McGlade, aka Moose from You Can't Do That on Television, and Fred Newman from Livewire, Nickelodeon's 3 biggest programs at this time. The camera's actually on them this time, the music's clearer, it's all around a better performance. And once again, this would have aired while Pinwheel was airing on Nickelodeon. Footage of this second performance actually went around Twitter a few times last year, which was when I decided to make this video, though I knew I'd forget, so I asked my followers on Twitter to remind me this October. Shout out to Campbell for actually following through on that. But while this sophomore try was a step up in quality, it was no longer worth paying Macy's for the spot. It was probably too early for this kind of promotion. Nickelodeon still didn't have its ducks in a row, and the channel wouldn't appear in the parade again for another 9 years. In that time span, Jerry Laybourne took over as president, the Orange Splat era began, Double Dare became a blockbuster success for the channel, Nickelodeon Studios opened its doors, and the first 3 Nicktoons premiered. Now we find ourselves in Thanksgiving 1991, and Nickelodeon finally feels confident to dip a toe back into the parade. And I do mean just a toe. Did you catch it? Here, let me slow it down. Interspersed with a bunch of clowns are Doug, Batley, and you could barely see him, but I'm pretty sure that's Stimpy. Costumes probably on loan from Nickelodeon Studios. And that's it. That's all of it. It happens so fast, and it's so out of focus, and it's followed by this flashy Tasmania float. Nobody noticed they were there. I wouldn't have known about this at all if there wasn't such a thorough Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade fan wiki. A lot of fan wikis are garbage, but the Macy's Parade fan wiki, they're pretty good. And this, I'm shocked to say, is the only time Nickelodeon showed up in the parade for the entire Jerry Laybourne era. There could be any number of reasons for this, but I can speculate a few. First off, even though Nickelodeon was airing original animation and puppet shows, not a lot of their characters translated well to costumes in the way that Disney or Muppets do. Oh no, we banked on creator-driven alternative animation. It turns out they're hideous monsters when their skin is put over the frame of a grown adult. Yeah, the Nickelodeon Studios walk-around characters weren't all that appealing, to be honest, and were sparsely used, so the prospect of a float with these guys weren't great. Another thing to consider is Jerry Laybourne herself, who, if not against commercialism, was a little more cautious towards it than pretty much all of her successors. Just a smidge, really. Layboard introduced commercials to the channel and was around for the rise of Matrix marketing. See my Nickelodeon Studios video for that. But she was also very strict about what kind of commercials could air, and had an ear for adult concern groups. I don't know how she felt about the Macy's parade, but when you watch it as an adult, and not as a child wowed by all your favorite intellectual properties floating about, the parade can feel quite crass. But all of that is outside speculation. The only facts we have is that Nickelodeon had almost no presence in the parade between 1992 and 1996, after which Laybourne was replaced by Herb Scannell, and immediately, Rugrats got a balloon in the parade.
All right, we'll take a look at Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade's first three-character balloon. From creators Arlene Klasky, Gabor Chupo, and Paul Germain, meet the Rugrats. Tommy Pickles, the adventurous leader, his best friend Scaredy Cat, Chucky, and along for the ride, their faithful pal, Spike. Rugrats balloon is furnished by Nickelodeon.
Now, this is a much more sensible form factor for Nicktoon characters, and Rugrats were huge in 1997. The #1 children's show in the country despite having only aired reruns for 4 years. New episodes finally premiered in August of that year, and a Rugrats movie had just been announced. This was the perfect time for Nickelodeon to promote the show. And it's a great balloon. It was huge. The entire thing contained 16,000 cubic feet of helium. Spike's snout extended 30 feet long. Chucky's glasses sitting 12 feet wide. And Nickelodeon was proud of this being in the parade. The channel ran behind-the-scenes features during commercial breaks, and there was a full-page article in Nickelodeon magazine. After a few false starts, Nickelodeon was finally ready to commit to the Macy's parade full-time. It's a bit of a shame, then, that the balloon premiered in 1997, one of the most infamous years in Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade history. The parade was plagued with gale force winds, averaging 20 miles per hour with gusts of up to 43 miles per hour, which makes operating a King Kong-sized helium balloon almost impossible. Of the parade's 14 big character balloons, 8 were significantly damaged and only 7 made it to the end of the parade. The worst incident was the Cat in the Hat balloon, which struck a lamppost and falling debris injured 4 people, with one woman ending up in a month-long coma. It remains the worst accident in Macy's parade history and resulted in a lot of reform in how the parade operates. As for the Rugrats balloon, it survived the Great Balloon culling with only minimal cosmetic damage and would return for the next 4 parades. In the 2000 parade, a beret was placed on Tommy's head to promote Rugrats in Paris, and the balloon made its final run in 2001, just in time for Rugrats' 10th anniversary. And so, after a few false starts, Nickelodeon committed to the parade full-time, paying for multiple spots most years. It is a significant out-of-pocket expense. As a promotional expense, I wouldn't call it a bargain, but it is an extremely good value, a good investment. And so we get to the list part of the video, where I just name off a bunch of balloons and floats. A Blue's Clues balloon and float ran the parade from 1999 to 2002. The balloon was a simple design of Blue holding up her trademark paw print, while below various characters from the show, including Steve, waved at the crowd. In 2001, the float promoted the Blue's Clues live tour, and Steve Burns was replaced with the actor playing Steve on tour, Roger Krause. Donovan Patton as Joe rode the float in 2002, until this setup was retired. A new Blue's Clues float was introduced in 2019 to promote the new Blue's Clues and You show, with Josh Dela Cruz present. Josh, Steve, and Joe all appeared in the 2021 version of the float to promote Blue's Clues' 25th anniversary.
Hey, Joe, come here. Look who it is. Oh, hey.
And the float took on a New York City theme to promote the film Blue's Big City Adventure in its final appearance in 2022. A Jimmy Neutron balloon premiered in 2001 to promote the movie hitting theaters that following month. So with this, Nickelodeon had 3 major spots in the parade: the Rugrats balloon, the Blue balloon, and the Jimmy Neutron balloon. Quite the change up from scattering a few costume characters amongst a bunch of clowns. The Jimmy Neutron balloon would retire after 2003, though would find second life in Balloonopolis, an exhibit of Macy's balloons that ran at the Universal Orlando Resort from 2002 to 2007. A Little Bill balloon ran the parade from 2002 to 2004, becoming the first African-American character to appear in balloon form. A Little Bill sweepstakes was run in 2003, where one lucky family would be whisked away to New York City for the parade. Goddamn Cosby jump scare. 2004 would bring us the inevitable, SpongeBob SquarePants. It was quickly becoming clear around this time that SpongeBob was not only a success for Nickelodeon, but was quickly becoming their mascot, Nick's Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny. SpongeBob has appeared in the most parades, and with the most variants. The first balloon ran from 2004 to 2006, took a break in 2007, then came back full-time in 2008. In 2013, the original balloon was replaced with a Christmas variant, and then in 2019, SpongeBob's pet snail Gary hopped on for the ride. SpongeBob is actually a really tricky character to get into balloon form. His rigid square body requires framing, which makes the balloon heavier and frailer. The 2012 balloon had a pretty poor showing, with SpongeBob all wrinkly like he just got out of the tub, which doesn't make any sense for the character, but you get what I mean. In 2014, SpongeBob was named Macy's Holiday Ambassador, with a large push of SpongeBob merchandise at the store. In 2017, Nickelodeon got to participate in one of the few areas you really wouldn't expect them to, the Broadway musical numbers, with a performance of Bikini Bottom Day with a cast of the SpongeBob SquarePants Broadway musical.
Good morning, Patrick. Hiya, Sandy. Greetings, Squidward. Hello, Bikini Bottom.
The Dora the Explorer balloon premiered in 2005 and ran up till 2009, and then Dora-themed floats ran from 2010 to 2014, the last year being themed after the new Dora and Friends Into the City spin-off show. Each float featured a pop singer performing a number, though the 2011 float served as a cross-promotion with Nickelodeon's Fresh Beat Band.
Here we go. Stand up, it's time to go. On your mark, get set, let's move. Hop aboard, we're leaving now.
Power Rangers Samurai made a brief appearance in 2011, and Power Rangers Megaforce showed up in 2012 and 2013. The pre-Nickelodeon versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles made only a few costume appearances in 1990 and 1991, a surprisingly minor showing considering how big the franchise was around that time. Floats for the Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles started appearing in the parade in 2012, for the CGI cartoon up to 2017, and then for Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 2018 to 2020. A balloon for Chase from Paw Patrol was introduced in 2017, as was a Shimmer and Shine float that ran until 2019. In 2021, Nickelodeon sponsored an older Papa Smurf balloon, bringing it out of retirement to promote the channel's new Smurfs program. And finally, in 2022, a Baby Shark float and balloon combo. This year, 2023, Nickelodeon will be represented with the SpongeBob SquarePants and Chase balloons, the Baby Shark float and balloon, a new float for the Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie, and the Good Burger Mobile to promote Good Burger 2. It is quite the contrast, seeing Nickelodeon go from a couple of minor parade flops to having no worthwhile presence at all, to suddenly becoming one of the biggest parts of the Macy's parade. We can build a story from that, of a channel that didn't know what it was doing at first, stumbling over itself and missing its mark, then deciding to focus on themselves, finding that success but staying cautious, letting the results speak for themselves, not being loud about it, and then deciding, screw it, and cannonballing into the world of commercialism and heavy merchandising. That's why I find watching old Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades fascinating while not caring all that much about the current parade. These parades have always pandered to kids and parents as a way to promote products. It's just one big shiny commercial. And I'm not a kid, or a parent. I'm not even an aunt or uncle. But with the older parades, even just a few years older, you can start to map trends, see what properties and companies were king of the mountain in any given year, and how their place on that mountain fluctuated with time. And I think exploring Nickelodeon this way is an interesting exercise. And I don't want to be too dismissive of the genuine craft in these set pieces. Some of these floats and balloons are genuine marvels. It's just, I'm not buying what they're selling right now. Happy holidays to all who celebrate.
Let's have a hayride when red leaves are falling. Break out the blankets and cider and cheer. We'll sing the old harvest moon just like a choir. Then pretty soon we'll kiss by the fire, and though the fire burns away into ashes, the glow of love in our hearts will burn bright. And when autumn is gone, still our love will live on. Let's have a hayride tonight.